Every day, we follow routines without even realizing it. We brush our teeth, scroll social media, make coffee, commute the same way to work, and repeat dozens of small actions on autopilot. These invisible patterns shape our lives more than we know. In his best-selling book, The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business, published in 2012, Pulitzer Prize, winning journalist Charles Duhigg explores the science of habits, how they form, how they influence us, and how we can change them. Duhigg's central insight is that habits aren't destiny. They are patterns that can be understood, reshaped, and harnessed to improve our lives. By learning the mechanics of habits, we can transform our personal lives, our businesses, and even society. Welcome to 10-Minute Books, the channel where we break down the world's most powerful books into practical lessons you can absorb in just 10 minutes. Today, we're exploring The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, a book about why habits exist, how they work, and how to change them. The Habit Loop. At the heart of Duhigg's book is the habit loop, a 3-step cycle. 1. Cue the trigger that starts the behavior. 2. Routine the behavior itself. 3. Reward the benefit your brain gets, which makes the habit stick. For example, the cue might be feeling bored, the routine is checking your phone, and the reward is the quick hit of entertainment. Over time, this loop becomes automatic. Understanding this loop is the key to changing habits. You can't erase a habit, but you can rewire the loop by keeping the cue and reward, but changing the routine. The golden rule of habit change. Duhigg explains that the golden rule is simple. If you want to change a habit, keep the same cue and reward, but swap the routine. Take a smoker, for example. The cue might be stress, the reward is relief, and the routine is smoking a cigarette. By replacing smoking with exercise, meditation, or chewing gum, the habit can be transformed while satisfying the same need. Keystone habits. Not all habits are equal. Some habits have a ripple effect, influencing many areas of life. Duhigg calls these keystone habits. For example, regular exercise is a keystone habit. People who start exercising often begin eating healthier, being more productive at work, and even saving more money. Another keystone habit is making your bed in the morning, a small action that builds momentum and a sense of discipline for the rest of the day. Keystone habits create positive feedback loops that lead to transformation far beyond the habit itself. Willpower as a habit. Duhigg reveals that willpower itself is like a muscle. It can be trained and strengthened. People with stronger willpower habits tend to succeed more in school, work, and relationships. Interestingly, studies show that willpower is more reliable when it's automated through habits. Instead of fighting temptation constantly, build habits that reduce the need for willpower. For example, if you want to eat healthier, plan meals ahead of time so you don't need to decide in the moment. Habits in organizations. Habits don't just shape individuals, they also shape companies. Duhigg tells the story of Paul O'Neill, CEO of Alcoa. Instead of focusing on profits, O'Neill focused on worker safety. By making safety a keystone habit, Alcoa improved communication, efficiency, and eventually profits. This shows how leaders can transform organizations by focusing on the right habits. Social habits and movements. Habits also shape societies. Duhigg explains how social movements, like the civil rights movement, spread because of social habits. They begin with personal ties, grow through community networks, and eventually change collective behavior. Understanding social habits helps explain why some movements succeed while others fade. The role of belief. One surprising factor in changing habits is belief. Duhigg found that lasting habit change often requires faith, not necessarily religious faith, but the belief that change is possible. This belief is often strengthened in groups, such as Alcoholics Anonymous, where people support each other through new routines. Real-life examples of habits in action. Duhigg fills his book with fascinating stories of how habits shape lives and businesses. One famous example is Febreze. When Procter & Gamble first launched the product, it failed. The marketing team thought people would use it to eliminate odors, but consumers didn't notice smells in their own homes. Sales only took off when they repositioned Febreze as part of a cleaning habit. Spray it as a finishing touch after tidying a room. By linking Febreze to an existing routine, it became a billion-dollar brand. Another example is Starbucks, which trained employees to build habits around willpower. Baristas learned scripts for handling stressful situations, like dealing with an angry customer. By practicing responses until they became automatic, Starbucks employees built habits that reduced stress and improved customer service. These stories prove that habits aren't just personal quirks, they're powerful drivers of business and culture. Habits and identity. Perhaps the most profound lesson from the book is how habits shape who we are. Each routine you repeat is a vote for the type of person you're becoming. If you run every morning, you start to see yourself as a runner. If you read before bed, you become a reader. Habits aren't just things you do, they become part of your identity. And when habits and identity align, change becomes permanent. Practical applications. Duhigg shares practical ways to use the habit loop. Identify the cue. What triggers the behavior? Is it a time, a place, an emotion, or the presence of certain people? Identify the reward. What are you getting from the habit, pleasure, relief, distraction, or connection? Experiment with new routines. Try different behaviors that give you the same reward. Believe change is possible. Reinforce the new habit through celebration and social support. Why habits matter. Habits are powerful because they run automatically, freeing our brains to focus on higher-level tasks. But this also means bad habits can dominate our lives without us noticing. By becoming aware of the habit loop, we gain the power to direct our own behavior instead of being controlled by it. Criticism and balance. Some critics argue that Duhigg simplifies complex behaviors, or that changing habits is harder than swapping routines. And it's true, some habits, especially addictions, require more than just self-help strategies. But Duhigg doesn't claim habits are easy to change. He argues they are possible to change when we understand their structure. Modern relevance. In today's world of constant distraction and overstimulation, habits matter more than ever. From how we use technology to how we work, our lives are built on routines. By redesigning habits, we can reclaim focus, health, and purpose. The big takeaway. The power of habit teaches us that habits are not destiny. They are patterns built on cues, routines, and rewards, and they can be changed. By understanding the habit loop, focusing on keystone habits, building willpower, and believing in change, we can transform our lives and organizations. The question is, what's one habit in your life that, if changed, would transform everything else? That was The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, broken down in under 15 minutes. Which idea resonates most with you, the habit loop, keystone habits, or the golden rule of habit change? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this summary, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to 10-Minute Books, and ring the bell so you never miss our weekly breakdowns of life-changing books. Thanks for watching, and remember, change your habits, change your life.